Hi, I'm Rory Verrett. Welcome to Sovereign Path. I'm an executive coach and executive recruiter for purpose-driven leaders, and today I want to tell you what the difference is between a retained executive search firm and a contingency search firm and how you can use them effectively in your job search. First, a retained search firm. That's the kind of search firm I manage at Protege Search. A retained executive search firm is called that because they are paid a retainer by the client. The client is a company, a nonprofit, a university that is looking for a consultant like our firm or me to manage a recruiting process. They are the client. They say, we're looking for a senior vice president of operations, and Rory, we'd love for you to manage that search process. So we help write the position description, give a timeline for the search. We go to market and review and source candidates, review their resumes, phone screen them, interview them, do assessments and write-ups of them, and manage the entire process. So for a retained search firm, the client is a company. It's an organization. Now, a contingency search firm is candidate driven. They represent executives or professionals who are looking for their next job. They will take a general counsel or a controller or even a junior level professional and shop their resume around, and they're called a contingency search firm because their pay, their fee, is contingent upon a company or organization hiring that professional. So if you're talking with a contingency search firm and you're a professional or executive, they can represent you. If you're talking to a retained executive search firm like Protege Search, we cannot represent you. We represent the company. Now, I've been in this business 20 years. People still call me and say, hey, I'd love to stay on your radar. I love to be considered for opportunities that might match my profile. Now, let me tell you why that is a well-intentioned approach, but still not that helpful. In 20 years of executive recruiting as exclusively a retained executive search consultant, I have placed exactly 3 professionals, 3 leaders, ironically, all in the legal function, that have reached out to me and said, I'm in transition, I'm looking for my next role, and I was working on a search that perfectly matched their background. The client loved them. They won out against 12 or 15 candidates and became the placement. They relocated. The compensation worked out. That is a needle in a haystack if you are an executive looking for your next job. Now, let me tell you what does work to work with executive search firms. And it's not going after them. It is being responsive in a certain kind of way when search firms reach out to you. If you are at the director, VP, SVP level, you typically get these calls from executive search firms. And most people, when someone calls them about a job, let's say you are a VP of finance and strategy, and someone calls you about an SVP, a finance role, and you know you're not trying to leave Dallas, and they call you and say the role is in New York City, you might say, that's okay, I'm not interested. Most people do that. They decline interest in the role, and then they move on. That's not the smart way. The smart way of engaging with a search firm is to listen to the pitch from the recruiter, and then maybe you want to ask that recruiter, tell me how much this role pays. And if they say, well, this role pays $500,000 all in compensation, and the role is actually a lateral move for you. Maybe you are already an SVP, and this is an SVP role at a company, and you hear that that role pays all in $500,000, you might want to ask that recruiter, how many of these searches have you done like this? How many SVP of finance and strategy roles have you done in terms of recruiting in the last 18 months? If that person tells you, well, I specialize in this space and I've done 10 of these searches for these roles, and you then ask them, well, how much do those roles pay? What is your guidance on what the appropriate compensation level is for an SVP of finance and strategy role? And that person tells you, well, it pays between $400,000 to $750,000 all in. and you are at a company and you're doing well and you're making $350 all in, that is incredibly valuable information that can get you to go back to your boss and have a discussion about whether you are being paid market, because you just got a really close as possible compensation analysis in the market about what your peer executives are getting paid at organizations, maybe even some competitors from this executive recruiter. So don't just take the call and say you're not interested and hang up. Ask them about searches they've done for roles like yours. Get some compensation information. Also, a second thing you can talk to with an executive recruiter about is what can someone like you in your position, in your functional or business leadership role, do 5 or 10 years later. Give an example. For a lot of HR leaders that become chief human resources officers, sometimes they want to become chief administrative officers or chief operating officers, but they may not know a really interesting role is to be a chief talent officer at a private equity fund or a venture capital fund. You get paid a base and a bonus, and you might even get, typically you will get, carry in the fund. So your compensation can be stratospheric if you work at a well-performing private equity fund or venture capital fund. So you want to talk to executive recruiters about career options for you in your business or your functional leadership role. What might be next for you? Again, it's not the kind of thing you call a recruiter to talk about, because look, we get hit up by hundreds, if not thousands, of executives every year about career advice, and we're in the recruiting business, we're not in the career advice business. But if somebody does call you and does try to recruit you and they're a retained executive search firm, you want to pick their brains about compensation, and you want to pick their brains about these other functional or business leadership roles you might have that might not be on your radar. So those are 2 ways that actually work, 2 ways that can be helpful to you in your career when you work with an executive recruiter. And the third way I'll tell you, and it's really a way of how you get on their radar, is to post on LinkedIn. I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. We have 3 databases. One of them includes LinkedIn. So I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. I look at candidates, I see what they're posting. You want to attract recruiters to you so that they say, what's happening with this finance leader that's at this tech company doing amazing things? I need to know them, because I'm reaching out to executives all the time who are star performers, who are out there putting up wins and talking about it. I'm trying to figure out what they're doing. I want to stay on their radar so that we can collaborate. If they're recruiting, I can be a recruiter for them. And I also want to keep an eye out for opportunities that I might have that match their interests and their career profile. So you want to attract the recruiters to you. You don't want to chase them. And when you get the call from the recruiter who's called you and you're on their radar, you want to talk about compensation information to figure out where you are in the market. And 2, you want to learn about different versions of your role in the market that you might not know about. Okay? That's how you deal with executive search firms in ways that can be additive to your career. I'm Rory Verrett. I'll see you on the next Sovereign Path.